Are you tired of having your email always beeping at you and telling you what to do? I'm Merlin Mann from 43folders.com. And today, I'm going to show you how to get out of your inbox and back into your life today on the lab.
Good to see you. Welcome to the lab. So glad you're here today. You're going to be glad too, because we've got a great show planned for you. I'm Leo Laporte. This is my lab, and this is my lab assistant, Kate Abraham. Yes, sir. This is episode 169, ladies and gentlemen.
169.
And and we've got a great. I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm so excited. Three of my favorite guests. We got Ray Maxwell. He's going to show us a little bit about Adobe's Lightroom and Camera Raw, which are useful, very useful, probably must-have tools for anybody doing digital photography, high-end, professional stuff, or if you want to just get better at it. Merlin Mann, as you saw, he's here via Skype. Don't let your email push you around.
So much fun to watch.
Isn't he funny?
You can just watch him. He just entertains himself.
I just adore Merlin. I just think he's the greatest. He's from 43 Folders, which is a great productivity site, and he's, of course, a regular on our podcast, Mac Break Weekly. We love having him on. And Chris Krug, how fans can interact with bands thanks to the internet. Music 2.0.
Okay.
I like that idea. Are you on MySpace?
I used to be, and then the whole Facebook thing came in. MySpace, I just pushed it away.
Well, that's really what MySpace's claim to fame was. It was the way bands reached out, and indie bands, a lot of bands got discovered there. And I think it still is very music focused. But there's more than just that. There's lots of other stuff. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. But first, the most important part of the show, you, our callers. Let's get our first caller on the day here.
Okay, we're going to Salamander Bay, New South Wales, and we have Robert, but you can call him Bob.
Hi, Bob!
Hi, Leo. Well, what I wanted to know is, I've got a Nikon D50, and I wanted to know if the upgrade to a D300 is worth the money.
I can't hear Bob. I'm having trouble with my earpiece. What did he ask? Did you hear it?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Bob. Hold on a second. Sean's going to translate.
He's got a Nikon D50. He wants to know if the upgrade to the D300 is worth the money.
Ah, well, boy, you called at the right time, Bob, because we have all of our experts here with us today. We've got Sean, who's a photography whiz. Ray Maxwell's a photography whiz. So you have a Nikon, did he say F3?
He's got a D50 right now.
A D50, which I love. It's a great camera. And you're looking at the new D300.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Nikon, it's funny, Nikon has fallen a little behind in digital photography because Canon released the 5D with its full frame sensor. It's a full-size 35mm CMOS sensor. And of course, the bigger the sensor, the better. You pull in more light, you get more detail. It's not all about megapixels. It's about how much space those megapixels have on the sensor. That's a big part of it. Nikon has responded now. They have a new D3, I think it is, or 3D they might call it. And the 300 came out at the same time as the 3. It doesn't have a full format, but it has a lot of nice features. It has a 3-inch LCD with live view, so you could focus, looking in the LCD. Most SLRs up to now, you had to use the viewfinder, and that's the whole point of an SLR, is what you see is what you get. That viewfinder is looking out through the lens. Well, I think it was Olympus that really started this with the E-Volt, where they actually put a little camera basically in there, and that's what you're seeing on the LCD. Now Nikon's doing it. Something Canon hasn't done up to now. Have you played with the 300 at all? Do you know anything about it?
I've played with, not the Nikon one, I've played with the Live MOS feature on the Olympus, and it's a bit gimmicky in some ways.
I don't mind using the viewfinder, I'll be honest. That's the whole idea of an SLR,
this is good, but yeah, I haven't had a chance to see the D300.
The other thing about the D300 is it's expensive. I mean, its list price is $1,800 US. So for the body. So we're talking something in the Canon 5D range, and frankly, I'm a big 5D fan. Now, if you like Nikon glass, if you're using Nikon glass and you want to stick with it, this is probably a good choice. It's certainly a lot less than the 3. Ray Maxwell, have you played at all with the D300? Do you have any opinion on the D300?
I've read a lot of the reports. I haven't had hands-on with it yet.
I don't think anybody has.
I think I was a little more excited about the D3 being the full frame.
Right.
Nikon
That's a big
finally
deal.
got. And it has a feature I haven't seen in any other camera, the D3. When you put the lenses that cover the smaller array from that you've collected in the past with the small ones, It crops automatically.
Oh, good. So it's not doing some weird kind of vignetting.
Right.
It's actually cropping the picture down.
So you can use those smaller format lenses on the full format camera, and it automatically crops.
They kind of have to do that because all of the lenses have been the smaller format up to now.
After they've waited 5 years to go full frame, and you've invested a fortune in lenses.
I had a D70 for years. I loved it. I thought it's, you know, I'm a big Nikon fan. When I went to the 5D, though, I noticed a big difference, and I think that's that full frame. The other thing that Nikon does better than Canon, it has auto cleaning. It has an auto cleaning pickup. The Canons, you really either have to take your chances and do it yourself, more likely to bring it into the store and have them clean it if you get any dust on the pickup. The Nikons have a little shaking mechanism, which I think is probably a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. What's our recommendation? It's $1,800 which is a lot. You could get. That's close to a.
Does he have a lot of Nikon glass?
That's a good question, Bob. Are you already heavily invested in Nikon? Did you buy more than one lens for your D60?
Yeah. I've got half a dozen, Leo.
Half a dozen, then I think the D300 is that's it then. You've chosen Nikon, the D300 would be a very good choice for you. I think there's a lot of great things about it. 6 frames per second, it's really fast. They're claiming 45 millisecond shutter lag. That's that's instantaneous for all intents and purposes. Powers up in about a tenth of a second. I mean, that's really good also. I think in many ways this is a very impressive camera. It does very high ISOs, which is kind of nice, goes up to 6400. You know, and that 3-inch LCD, that's going to make a big difference if you're going to use that as a viewfinder. We've got Chris Krug here as a Canon guy. We've got Ray Maxwell as a Canon guy here. We've got Leo Laporte as a Canon guy, and now Sean Carruthers, who was an Olympus Evolt guy, is a Canon guy. Yep. But we don't have. But there's a difference. We haven't invested in Nikon lenses. I don't think there's anything wrong with Nikon. And I think if you've already got an investment in Nikon lenses, this is probably a very, when you're talking this prosumer level, the D300 is certainly Nikon's, you know, one of Nikon's best cameras at that price point. I think a good choice.
Righto, Leo. Thanks for that.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Enjoy your photography. You live in a place where it's a natural. You've got to take pictures, right? It's such a beautiful area. So keep taking those pictures, and we'll look for them on Flickr. Take care, Bob. Coming up, Ray Maxwell. Actually, you're going to want to stay tuned for this, Bob, because he's going to talk about Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. If you're shooting with a camera like this D300, you're absolutely going to be shooting in what they call RAW format. But what do you do? How do you process those pictures once you take them? We'll talk about the best ways to do that with Ray Maxwell. Coming up in just a bit. Stay here. Welcome back to the lab. Leo Laporte here. Ray Maxwell is also here. He is an engineer, a teacher, a scientist, a pilot, and loves to come in and teach us things about digital photography, among other things. Now, if you get serious about digital photography, you're going to start shooting not in a format called JPEG or TIFF. You're going to start shooting in a format called RAW, which is basically just every bit of information that comes off of that sensor.
That's right.
Processed not at all by the camera.
Right.
And the advantage of shooting RAW is that, you know, you can always go back and modify what the camera, you know, you've got everything the camera saw. It's not been compressed in any way. The disadvantage is it's large, and not every program can handle camera RAW.
Right.
When you start shooting
more and more.
I know, it's kind of become the default.
Yeah.
And when you see even point and shoots like the new G9 from Canon shooting in a RAW format, you realize that a lot of people are going to start shooting RAW because we have enough storage now.
And even Preview on the Mac opens RAW files.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
But you do need tools to process RAW because the camera's not doing the work.
That's right.
How do you turn it into a JPEG? How do you change the white balance? How do you mess with the picture? So this is the tools you recommend, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to show this in Adobe Camera Raw. But
that comes with Photoshop.
Right, it comes with Photoshop and Bridge.
Okay.
And I started in Bridge. And in addition, all the controls I'm going to show you are available in Lightroom as well. And they're working very hard to dovetail Adobe Camera Raw and its controls with Lightroom. So kind of anything you can do in one, you can do in the other. And you can open the edited files one from the other.
See, I like Lightroom because it's $300.
Yes.
Windows or Mac, and I do almost everything I put into Lightroom because I can quickly reject photos.
Right.
And it has all these great controls over the photos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to show today, I've shown in the past how to deal with the histogram and exposure, all that sort of stuff. Today we're going to go into a couple of advanced controls.
Because there's some sliders there, I don't know what the heck they do.
Yeah, and these are really magical. Now I'm going to just adjust the exposure exposure slightly on this. Watch my histogram.
Is that like brightness? What is, yeah.
And then I'm going to open up the blacks just a little bit. So that's just basic stuff. And now I am going to switch over to the hue, saturation, and luminance.
HSL.
Yes. And I'm going to, first of all, zoom in here on this just a little bit. And then I'm going to zoom in so we can see the controls here as well. And in hue saturation, I'm going to start with hue. And we can see the red apple over here. Mm-hmm. I can go in a color picture, and I can change the hue of the red. Now I'm going to exaggerate it. Here it'll go towards yellow.
And so it only affects the reds.
Yeah, and this goes over towards blues. Okay, so that's the hue. So I can change the hue of the reds and only the reds.
Now you without could do this with a tool like curves in Photoshop, but this is giving you a particular color.
A particular
a little
color.
Easier to use than curves.
And I don't have to select any pixels, and this is non-destructive.
That's what the other thing I like is that all the changes you make to photos with these tools are just kind of on top of the original. You can always get back to the original.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go over to saturation, and we'll play with the red saturation. I can saturate the apple. Look at that. Snap up.
So that doesn't change the color, it just changes how much of the color is there.
Right. So we can make that.
That's great, because the lemon's not changed at all.
No. And then I can go to luminance, and I'm going to do the same thing with red. I can lighten the apple.
Oh, wow.
Or I can darken the apple.
Oh, that's so cool.
Okay? So, you know, whatever color I want to work with. Now let's just try it out with some other colors that are in that picture. I can go in with the orange, change the hue of just the orange.
It's interesting. Now, this particular picture, because of the choice, only the apple has some red in it. Only the orange has orange in it.
I didn't pick it by accident.
Sometimes, I mean, if you were doing facial tones, there's red and orange, and probably even some green in a face, right?
Face, usually oranges.
Oranges mostly.
Yeah,
okay.
it sees faces mostly as reds or oranges and so forth.
There's not a lot of blue in a face.
No.
Maybe the eyes.
And so, again, I can go back to hue and play with the hue of the orange. See, I can make it yellow.
And it really only affects the orange.
And it only affects the orange.
Look at that. That's so
Isn't
cool.
that amazing?
Oh, I like that.
You know. And then,
if you were going to do that by hand, is it curves that you would use to?
Well, I have to go in and individually select it first.
You get you pick the channel. You have to select the orange, and this is a great way just to do it by color.
Right. And then go in and use HSL in Photoshop, but I have to make selections. Right. So I can go through any one. I'll go through the yellow luminance here. You'll see the lemon. I can darken it or lighten it.
That's the big difference between tools like this and Photoshop is that these tools affect the whole picture. Photoshop is a region of the picture.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to take that lime and green it up a little bit.
Make that green. Look how those fruit now pop.
Yeah.
If the grocery store could only do this.
Yes.
This is why you never trust a picture in a magazine. Just exactly why.
So those are the advancements. Now I can do the same thing. I can do the same kind of mapping, only in grayscale. I've just
would you do
convert
that?
to grayscale.
Okay.
Remember in an earlier episode, I showed how you can go in Photoshop in black and white and map the tones based on their color.
Right.
You can do the same thing inside Adobe Camera Raw.
This would be a way to play with contrast a little bit.
Well, let's look. If I go to the reds now with it gray, I can take the apple and lighten it, only the apple.
Wow.
So I'm mapping tones now. The orange, I can darken only the orange.
Oh, that's really great.
Or lighten it. I'll go to the yellow, and I can lighten or darken.
Wow.
You know, the yellow's in the picture.
You can turn the lemon into a lime.
And the lime, I can lighten it or darken it. So I can map my gray tones based on color.
Interesting.
Now, I'm going to switch quickly now to the additional adjustments here, and I'm going to back out here and cancel this and open another image that illustrates these points a little bit.
Snow scene.
Snow scene, shot yesterday, snowing in Vancouver yesterday.
Yeah, I noticed.
Any rate, I'm showing that we have vignetting up in the upper left-hand corner. By the way, I had a rough time finding a picture with this fault.
Because you're such a good photographer.
And
but this will happen sometimes with a wide-angle lens, and it just cuts the corners a little bit.
So I'm going to go into the lens adjustments, and here I'm going to exaggerate it first. See the dark corners
Sometimes
up
you
there?
want that effect.
Sometimes. Yeah. But I can take it out completely and flatten the image.
Look at that.
In addition, now I'm going to zoom way in here. And I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side where we're right at the edge for this wide-angle lens. And I get a little bit of color aberration, okay? Right over to the far edge.
A little kind of on the borders, little red on the borders.
Yeah, you have to go right over. And now you can see, I'm going to go in just a little bit tighter on it.
Yeah.
And you can see a little red fringe.
Yep.
Well, you can go in here in the chromatic aberration adjustment, and I can just take this over and I can get rid of that red.
Goodness. So it knows somehow.
See, I'm going to exaggerate it, and then I'm going to take it out.
So you can that's great.
So it can take out.
Now you use good lenses, but even good lenses, sometimes on the edge of a wide angle,
at the very
you can get it.
edge of a wide angle.
Yeah.
So that allows me to do those advanced corrections.
These are the kinds of things you would use Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw.
Correct.
Because both have basically the same tools.
That's right.
To kind of touch up your pictures or even make them pop.
Exactly.
More details, we've got the notes on the website, labwithleo.com. And of course, a great way to see Ray's photos is to go to his own website, maxwellmultimedia.com. Right. He's got some great images. Thank you, Ray. That's cool. I can't. Every time I see this, I want to go home and start playing with my photos. Hey, let's take a close-up. Speaking of photos, of something you'd find around the lab. Sean takes this with his super-duper macro lens. What is that? Do you have any idea? I'll tell you what, if we zoomed out, you'd know right away. Let's do that. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll zoom out, and we'll find out when the lab continues. Stay here. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we saw this. I don't know what it is. Let's zoom out. Oh, I should have known. I have that razor. It's the Braun Pulsonic. You know, it looked kind of familiar, but I never really looked that closely. That's a really cool electronic razor that vibrates your skin. Anyway, I don't know.
Don't look too closely when it's on, though, okay?
No, you don't, because you
like
could shave your eyeball. That'd be bad. Sean takes those pictures with his new macro lens on his Canon Rebel XTI. He loves that. Hey, let's get our color on here.
Fantastic. We're going to Toronto, Ontario, and this here is Ali.
Hey, Ali.
Hello.
Great to talk to you. What can we do for you today?
Well, I was just wondering, why is it that I always need permission to copy files from my from any directory into my root director and any of my drives on Vista?
Isn't that frustrating?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, it's a security issue, and I think one of the reasons people have trouble with Vista is because of things like this. Now, it's a sensible precaution. They're saying anything that wants to either copy or modify any of these files, these key system files, you better be an administrator. You better have high-level permissions, even to copy them. Because that's the kind of thing viruses and spyware would do. They might copy it to another folder and refer to that folder as your new Windows folder. I mean, they're basically stopping bad guys from doing this stuff. Now, I should point out, if you're logged on as administrator, the bad guys have the same permissions you do, so anything you could do as an administrator, bad guys could do. But I guess the theory is, well, if you're smart, you shouldn't be running as administrator, which you're obviously not, Ali, or you wouldn't have seen this. And that's good. Then we're going to have to ask your permission before we make these modifications to key system files. So that's why. It's a security thing. It's also why a lot of software breaks under Vista, because a lot of software assumes, it's from an XP world, it assumes, oh, I can copy this, I can do this, I can modify this file, no problem. And when it can't, instead of degrading gracefully, it just chokes and dies. That's where a lot of these compatibility problems come from. Microsoft has a problem, you understand. They want to make their operating systems more secure, but they also need to work with a lot of older software. So Vista, maybe Vista erred too far on the side of security. I don't think so. I think it was a good move. Vista is more secure. Things like the user access control that force you to say okay when you're modifying key things, those are all good things. But I think the problem is it drives users batty. This is why Vista has kind of been a flop, to be honest with you. So, Ali, it's a good thing. You wanted to do that. It's doing it for security. I know it's a pain, but it's...
certain applications that I want to extract files into my root directories won't extract files at all.
That's right.
Is there a way I can disable this?
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the show, the workarounds to doing this kind of thing. And I'm trying to remember exactly what they were. I'll tell you what, I can put it in the show notes again. There are some programs that just die because they expect you to be able to do this. I think the guy he wanted to change icons or something, and there just was no good way to do it. Is there a program you have that won't operate under Vista?
Not really. It's just I want to extract files or copy files into root directories.
Yeah.
And it just won't let me.
Even as administrator.
Even as administrator.
Yeah. I think there are workarounds for this. If I were Microsoft, I wouldn't, I can understand. It's a security thing. It's a security thing. This is why so many people have gone back to XP. That's all I can say, Ali. I'll tell you what, let me look and see if I can find it. We were talking about this before, and I just don't remember, because it's kind of, it's a kind of kludgy workaround that you have to do. But I do believe there is a way to do it.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find that for you, Ali.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
No problem.
You understand why Microsoft does this. They don't want you to do that. Because that's the kind of thing bad guys do. And we're used to having complete control over our system. It's our system. We can do anything we want. But in this day and age, there's issues with that. They should give you like a special button. But remember, if they gave you a special button, a bad guy would just write software that pressed the special button. So that's why they're reluctant to. Sean's here with a shiny. It says, trust your instincts.
Yeah,
what is that?
This is actually not my shiny today, but this is a problem that we have here. We've got this on Christmas, and we want to open this. We want to get into it. Yes, it's got one of those blister packs that has become the bane of all consumer packaging.
Whoever invented the blister pack, I hope they're just,
It's great for merchandising, but terrible for the average consumer.
I think it's an anti-shoplifting idea, too,
yeah,
right?
That as well. So we have a product here called the Zebra Open It.
This works.
It doesn't work, but
it looks like pruning shears.
Yeah, it looks like pruning shears, but notice one thing about it.
It comes in a blister pack.
It comes in a blister pack. So you need to figure out a way to get into this. I've actually just sort of ripped it open. But dumb packaging.
No, they say that. They say, we know, but they made it easy. You saw you were able to do that. They made it so you could do that.
As you say, it's like garden shears. Very, very heavy duty. It's got a little switch here so you can lock it so that you don't cut yourself by mistake. So it's pretty sharp. We're going to flip this open if we can figure out how. Very sharp. Now we'll have you cut open into that.
Now the problem with something like this is you could also cut right into the product.
Yeah,
so
that is a downside.
You probably want to be careful. Oh, but look at that.
It's going right through
now,
there.
is this better than scissors, you think, for this kind of thing?
It's more dedicated to this task than scissors are. You will dull your scissors if you use it for this. So you don't want to do that. This costs about $11, so it's fairly cheap. You don't have to expend your scissors.
But now, I was clever. I went along the side, and now I haven't really destroyed the packaging. I can just get into it.
So it does require a bit of technique.
It also has a little thing in the bottom here, a little screwdriver for removing batteries.
Yeah, flip that out.
Because a lot of kids' toys now you have to have a screwdriver to get the battery out of the battery.
And it does have a retractable knife as well in here. So.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes, it's a bit dangerous.
Don't try to take this on an airplane. That's all I could say.
No, definitely.
$11, $12. The Zebra Open It. I think a great shiny. What are the pros and cons?
Well, it does have everything you need for opening packages, including the battery compartment, as you noted. So that's a good thing. Downsides is it does come in a blister pack, so you have to figure out how to get into that to begin. And the knife does auto-retract, so you can't keep it out. But, I mean, that's a good thing as well.
Yeah,
right?
safety first.
You won't grab it and cut yourself on the knife.
Do keep this out of the hands of kids, because these are very, very
definitely.
sharp.
Keep it locked between uses.
A must-have. If you've got blister packs, you need the Zebra Open It. I'm hearing really good things about that. Thank you, Sean. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with Merlin Mann in just a little bit, our productivity expert. He's going to tell you how to tame your email. You stay right here. Well, first it's time for our tech quiz. Our question of the day, what does OLED stand for? Is it online low energy display, optically limited electronic display, organic light emitting diode, or overhyped lavishly expensive display? Well, the new Sony LED was at, what, $2,500? I think that might be right. Tell you what, we'll find out when the lab continues. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is, the lovely, the talented, the original Merlin Mann from 43folders.com. Hey, Merlin.
How's it going, Leo?
It's great. Now, wait a minute. Whenever I talk to anybody on Skype, I always like to take a little tour of their facility, and I see behind you some action figures over your right shoulder there.
Is that right?
Yeah. Who are those action figures?
Let me help you identify this. This is a couple pieces from my collection. As a productivity guru, I like to keep a couple characters from The Big Lebowski nearby.
John Goodman on the left. It's Jeff Bridges on the right. It's the dude, man. Those are hysterical.
Am I wrong? No, Walter, you're not wrong. You're just
I can get you a toe, dude. All right, let's not start this.
mail.
But there is apparently a large cult around the Big Lebowski film, and I didn't know there were action figures. Look at that. That's great. I am jealous. I am jealous. I didn't know they made those. I'm stoked. So we're going to talk about email. Now I'm just looking at my inbox here. I have 3,968 messages in my inbox, of which 3,207 are unread. So I'm not doing too well on my inbox. Perhaps you can help me, Professor.
Yeah, this is not good. This is the problem. It's the living in your inbox that is killing you. And, I mean, there's all kinds of advice for what you can do to try and winnow that down. But I think one of the best things you can do is just kind of not let email kind of run your life and not spend all your time just sitting in that inbox churning and spinning and worrying and sweating.
It does run my life. And when I look at numbers like this, frankly, I just say, I give up. I throw up my hands. I say, okay, fine. I do what Professor Larry Lessig of Stanford did. I declare email bankruptcy and I erase everything and start over. But then a few months later, it's back to 4,000 messages.
It's true. And I can tell you by the number of people who contact me every day saying, could you get this email to Leo? I can tell you that you've been good at concealing your email.
That's my new thing. I make people email my friends.
No, it's true. I mean, it's getting harder and harder for everybody. And I think there's a couple different approaches that people take to kind of try and feel like they're keeping up. And I think maybe the most common approach is to just kind of leave email open all day. You have those notifications on and have that little, noise blinking and beeping at you all the time. So you don't really ever do anything but kind of halfway email all the time.
Yeah, that's what I do. It's always running. I check it all the time. But the thing is, I can't really process it because I'm doing other stuff, and it's just frankly a distraction to no real purpose.
Well, let me give you a quick test. Okay, you ready now? Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Okay, ding.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I got some email.
Okay, so when you heard that sound, who is that email from?
In this case, it's a second request for an IRS 1099 from TalkShoe.
Nice. Now, see, the problem in my experience with just hearing ding is that you have no idea who that ding is associated with. Now, that ding could be somebody on Facebook sending you a vampire.
It could be.
I
get a lot of lights.
Star who wants you to come fly out and spend the weekend with them in Montreux.
Yes.
It could be the person who signs your paychecks. And the problem is that there's no way to differentiate from
some of those are
the
important.
Average user, that ding could just be a piece of spam. And as long as we let the ding decide when our attention goes somewhere besides where it is, we're going to lose.
So what, do I have a special sound for my boss?
It's funny you should say that. I think a lot of Mac users say, oh, I use growl so I can tell when it's Facebook. Like, that's a big improvement. The best thing that you can do is to really try and set aside a little bit of time throughout the day in kind of repeating periods for when you're going to do email and when you're going to really concentrate on email.
So turn off the new mail sound and not listen for that ding, but instead, so I'm going to go to none for my new mail sound.
Excellent.
And just check it. Have it like every 3 hours or something.
You know what I would say if you can do it. I think I am counseling people to say try and check your email if you can manage. Check it maybe every hour or so.
Okay.
But if you can stand it, try to not have it check automatically at all. Because the point is, if you're like me, Leo, are you ever distracted?
What? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
I'm sorry, I thought I saw a pony go by.
Yes, I'm extremely easily distracted.
Oh, that's the problem.
Yes.
So the trouble is then we end up having to run away and take care of this whenever it comes up. Now, that should be a decision that we choose to make.
So this is great. So not only turn off the new mail sound, but don't even have your email client check for mail until you explicitly ask it to do so.
That's right. I would even say, you know what, if you have to check your email every 2 minutes, still do it manually. Don't do it automatically. Because then at least it's an overt gesture. Sure, it can kind of turn into a little tick that you're kind of automatically doing all the time. But make it something where you're making a very mindful, conscious decision to say, this is how often I'm going to deal with this.
So I'm going to set this to check manually. Now, I'm in Apple Mail, but of course Outlook Express, Windows Live Mail, Eudora, they all allow you to set these new mail sounds to none and check mail manually. I like that.
I think it's a good idea because if you let yourself kind of just sit there in that inbox all day long, you're never going to do anything else. I mean, you wouldn't just kind of sit outside your house and wait for your mail to arrive 24 hours a day. There's certain times you're going to set aside to say, I'm going to go check mail.
I actually sometimes will check my mailbox outside 3 or 4 times a day. I like mail.
Are you waiting on something in particular?
No, I just like to...
I think it's probably that 1099 you need to send in. Did I send you an email about that?
Yeah, I better hurry up on that. Oopsie, tax time is coming. So this is all really good. And I guess I'm getting that the underlying thing is that I'm in charge of the mail. I can't let the mail be kind of constantly pestering me.
You know, Leo, I think it's true, and I think it's true about pretty much everything we do. If we want to spend time messing around on Facebook, if we want to spend time working on email, I think we should do it in a very mindful way and say, this is something I know I'm doing. It's not something that I'm allowing, that I'm sort of ceding my attention to accidentally and letting it take over.
Right. I think this is key, is mindfulness. Merlin is the expert on productivity. His website, 43 folders. In fact, let me pull it up here because I just love this. Well, I can't. My machine's getting my mail right now. I'm sorry. But 43folders.com is a place to go. You got a toe? I can get you a toe, dude. 43folders.com, the number 5, IVES.com for his humor site. And you also can hear him every week on Mac Break Weekly. Daddy Merlin. Merlin D. Man, thank you so much.
Thanks, Leo.
Have a great day. We'll take more of your calls as the lab continues right after this. Stay right here.
Welcome back to the Lab with Leo. I'm Kate Abraham, and I've got a great tip for anybody out there who's agonizing about their next vacation. Beach, island, mountain. Where do you go? Worldreviewer.com is a fantastic site that's going to help you out. What it is, it's a literal site that's very, very beautiful. The idea is you look at what you want to do with the right holiday choices. So if I need inspiration, I can click through and say, okay, where have other people been? It's user generated. You can upload your own photographs. I can check out them with regards to this map here. So for instance, Machu Picchu or the Great Barrier Reef. Then what you can do is you can work out what kind of experience you want. So for instance, if it's cultural or if I want to go somewhere with gardens, and I can click through and work out where the best place to go with gardens are. And the cool thing is as well is you can upload your photographs of your trip and review your trip as well.
More and more, I think that's one of the real powerful things on the net. And more I'm doing this is looking at user reviews.
Yes.
Now, as somebody who used to review software, it's kind of depressing because it used to be that we were the experts, right? But nowadays, you want to kind of go to somebody who's been to these places like a regular person or has used software like a regular person. And so user reviews are great.
It's very tangible now. You understand, like, basically, these people want to go and experience the same thing.
I will not go somewhere or stay at a hotel unless I've at least read the reviews on TripAdvisor, and I'm going to have to add this one.
Yep, so worldreviewer.com.
That's great. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Let's get another caller on the air.
Okay, we are going to Calgary, Alberta, and we have Mark.
All right. Thank you, Kate. Hi, Mark.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Not too bad. A little cold.
Yeah, well, you know, it's winter.
That's right.
That's what I hear anyway. That's what they tell me. What can I do for you today? It's actually summer down under, and all of our friends in Australia are saying, ha ha! So what can I do for you, Mark?
All right, well, my question was basically about some DRM-free music.
Okay.
I was trying to purchase a song, and went to iTunes, and they've got a really limited selection of DRM-free.
Yeah, in fact, I think their deal is only with EMI.
That's right, yeah. So I heard you talking a lot about Amazon.
I love Amazon.
So went to Amazon.com, and it was actually cheaper for the song I wanted.
It's cheaper, and they have many more titles.
Absolutely, they had tons.
Yeah.
The problem was, I had to provide an American billing address for my credit
right.
card, and they didn't match.
Very frustrating, isn't it?
Very frustrating. So I looked at a couple other places like eMusic.
eMusic is great.
They didn't have much of a selection.
No.
So I'm wondering if you had any suggestions.
So here's what's happening. By the way, Amazon has announced that they're going to go global, and 2008 is going to be their year to go global. I would imagine, just as with iTunes, the Canadian market will be next. But you saw this happen with iTunes. You know, first the States got it, then Canada gets it. You know, and that's, or Australia or the rest of the world. And it's really not, I mean, Apple or Amazon would love to sell to everybody. They don't want to limit it. It's the record companies. The record companies are very hesitant, and Amazon has to do a deal with the record companies in Australia before they can do this in Australia. It's not like you can make one global deal. Here's the interesting thing that's happened, though. I think the record companies finally get it. They're finally saying, oh, people don't want copy protection. And so every record company now, Sony BMG was the last, is now offering the majority of their stuff in copy protection free form of some kind or another online. But they aren't doing the deal with iTunes. And the reason is iTunes is too powerful. At this point, Sony's saying, well, iTunes is calling the shots here. They're the #3 retailer in the U.S. of all music, #1 online of all music. We got to cut Steve Jobs down to size. So they're going to other places to make these deals for copy protection-free music. And Amazon is kind of the chief benefactor here. The nice thing about this is you buy these songs, they will run on anything. You don't have to put them on an iPod or a Zune, or, I mean, they'll run on anything. They're mostly higher quality, and as you say, they're mostly inexpensive. And I'll tell you, pick a band, you know. I mean, it's, let's see, Soulja Boy. Let's see if Soulja Boy's on here. I mean, you can't, it's hard to find a band that's not on here. Yep. Soulja Boy, look at all that. And as you point out, it's less expensive. Many of the songs are 89 cents, not 99 cents. Look at all these. And these are all free of copy protection. Now, not every album's on here. $7.99. $7.99 for Boy Tell 'Em. That's the whole CD. So not all CDs are on here, but it's a much better selection than almost anywhere else. The problem with sites like eMusic, and I love eMusic, eMusic.com, is that they're pretty much not dealing with the labels. They're dealing with independent artists. So there's lots of great music on here, but it's not going to be stuff you're hearing on the radio or you might have heard of. 2.8 million songs, price is right, copy protection free, but they're artists that you probably aren't familiar with. On the other hand, this is a great way to get to know them. Pure Tracks, which is the Canadian kind of iTunes, it was the first to sell music, it has also announced that they're going DRM free. I certainly would check Pure Tracks. I wouldn't buy, at this point, because we're moving towards copy protection free, I'm very hesitant to buy a copy protected song, whether it's from iTunes or Pure Tracks or anybody. I am now saying, you know, kind of making a kind of intentional effort to only buy copy protection free music. The good news about Pure Tracks is they have many, many more artists, and they're doing 192 kilobit MP3s, but they're just not offering everything. So, but you know, if you do a little searching around, you could probably find them. I think what's really happening is artists are realizing, boy, and labels, if we don't offer these without copy protection, people can always just download them for free. You know, we have to offer them without copy protection. It's the only way we're going to be able to continue. So it's just a matter of time. Watch for Amazon. To me, Amazon is the one. I mean, they need to do some work on, you know, it's still more of a website than iTunes is. It's, you know, it doesn't have that great user interface. But boy, they've got everything there, and I love the quality. It's very easy to buy there. Way too easy, I'm sorry to say. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Mark.
Thanks a lot, Leo.
All right. We're going to wander over here and take a look at our free file of the day. Ryan Ewell has a jewel.
I do.
Mr. Ewell?
Well, previously I talked about a free file called IKEA Home Planner.
Yeah.
And I mentioned how you could maybe kind of cheat it a bit to design your own home.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of a hack. That's a hack. So this is actually for Mac, Windows, and Linux. It's called Sweet Home 3D, and it actually lets you create the dimensions of your walls, insert objects.
It doesn't have to be an IKEA product.
It doesn't have to be an IKEA product. There's not a price list because it's free. And so right here, what I've done is I just designed a small little room, and it's got this real-time 3D viewer where you can actually like walk through and just kind of see what things look like. And for instance, this couch right here, everything you can change. So let's make it the couch a lot higher. Let's make it like twice the size here. Let's make this like one.
I think a high-back couch would be a good thing to have.
There you go.
There you go.
So, and you can actually, it's really simple. Like right here, I've got the wall set, and I can just go in. You can just start drawing walls.
So if you measure the dimensions of the room, it's so easy to make.
You can set it feet. You can set it centimeters. You can even import objects. So it supports like 3D Studio if you want to import objects.
That's amazing.
It even says you don't have to make your own. You can actually go to a website. They give you a link, and they actually can import. You know, once people have designed their own furniture, you can import in here. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Did somebody send you an email when you did the IKEA thing, or how'd you find this?
This is on sourceforge.net.
Yeah, it's open source.
It's open source, so it's awesome. So
this is the one.
Yeah, you know, this is, if you want to buy IKEA, go with that. But if you want to design your own rooms and your own furniture, this is the one you go with.
It's called what?
Sweet Home 3D.
Sweet, man.
It's very sweet.
And it is free, and it is available where?
Go to labwithleo.com, click on free files, Jewels. There's a bunch of stuff there. This, other stuff too. Lots of good stuff.
Coming up, you're into music.
I play and then listen, yeah.
You know, bands nowadays could just bypass the labels, meet with their fans. Disintermediate is the word we like to use. We get rid of the middleman, and it's a revolution. Chris Krug calls it Music 2.0. We're going to talk about it when the lab continues in just a bit. But first, one more chance to take our quick quiz question of the day. What does OLED stand for? Is it online low energy display, optically limited electronic display, organic light emitting diode, or overhyped lavishly expensive display? Go to the website, give us the answer. We'll talk about it in kind of a robotic voice when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Leo Laporte here. That is the question of the day. What does OLED stand for? It's organic light emitting diode. And Sony just announced, with Sony, right, its new 11-inch OLED screen for a mere $1,200. It's cheap. More? A mere $2,000. It's cheap. More? A mere $2,500 for a screen this big. However, I'm sure they'll come down in price, and everybody's raving about how they look, and that's the cool thing. Chris Krug is here. He's the president of Rain City Studios, very well known as a Drupal designer. Drupal's an open source content management system that's really great for making websites. I use it myself. The web has been a boon for musicians, hasn't it?
That's right. We're seeing the whole music industry turned upside down.
Yeah, I mean, not only, well, of course, it started with Napster, people downloading music for free, but more, it's not about stealing music. It's really more about musicians reaching right out to their fans directly.
That's right. Cut a lot of the third parties out of the equation who have been taking some of the razor-thin margins already existing in the music industry.
You can actually do it without a label now, can't you?
For sure. I mean, just this last month, we saw a hip-hop act from the States called Soulja Boy. He put up a song online with a fun little dance, added 3 million friends to MySpace within the first couple weeks.
Whoa.
3 million friends, went from 0 to...
But now, clearly somebody knew who he was. You couldn't just do that.
He went on YouTube.
YouTube.
He's got very dialed in for what's going on out there. His lyrics and his sound a lot like ringtones. It's perfect for the ringtone download market. It's kind of this new mindless style of hip-hop rap as opposed to the kind of old mess.
The new mindless style.
Well, it used to be all about the message. Yeah, here you go.
Do you have Soulja Boy? I want to do the Soulja Boy dance.
We got a little YouTube video over here.
Look at this. He's even saying, for ringtone, text 30303. For merchandise, I mean, talk about a guy who's marketing himself.
So this one's been seen 30 million times on YouTube.
Is it that good? Why is it seen so many times? Is it word of mouth?
It's word of mouth. It's taken off. Really, he wasn't known before he put this stuff out there. He put himself up on MySpace. He put himself up on YouTube. He got the dance going.
Then there's no record label involved?
Well, there is a record label involved now. He went and he was pitching labels like artists do. I got turned down by... The anecdote that's floating around the internet is he got turned down by one of the major labels. The guy went home from work that night, saw his kids doing the Soulja Boy dance from YouTube, and he dropped everything, called him back, and tried to sign him to the deal.
I look at my kids, who are both teenagers, 16 and 13, and that's exactly how it works. Their friends tell them, they text, hey, you got to see this video. They're always watching videos on YouTube.
They post it to their Facebook, their friends can watch it right there.
They put it on their MySpace. And now, Abby's Facebook, she's the older, she's 16. Henry's still MySpace, he's 13. And he's got videos on there always. He's always got a song on his page. It really is a way for word of mouth.
Here's what I'm listening to, here's what I think is cool.
Yeah, he's a little weird because he likes Foreigner, but that's another matter. I'm not kidding. Waiting for a Girl Like You. He thinks that's like the coolest song he ever heard. I was like, really? So what are the record labels doing in response to this?
Well, the record labels are scrambling. You were talking in your last call about dealing with the DRM issue. They're not exactly listening to users all the time.
Right.
People are saying, I want to own my music. I want to be able to take it from machine to machine. And then you have people like Apple who say, no, you can only play it on 5 machines. Right. That's the limit after that.
Right.
You don't own it anymore. So even though you've paid us.
So they're really not doing what people want.
You see them investing in various other projects as well. There's a couple new things that I've pulled up here that I wanted to show you. One is this site called deeprockdrive.com. The idea here is to do live on-demand concerts over the web.
They're actually doing them on the web.
Yeah, and you can switch between camera angles and stuff. And the other thing that's kind of special about it, if you pull up...
Now, as you can see, by the way, I have to point out that that's one problem with the web is it's not television, so sometimes it slows down. And so, if a lot of people are watching, it's not as good. But on the other hand, people can live with this, right?
Yeah, and these guys have invented some technology to overcome that. They're working with the Akamais of the world to push the concerts out to the edge, and they're working with the Flash people of the Adobe and Flash to embed
Make
tools
it easy.
in. So you can switch between camera angles. You can interact with the band via chat while they're talking. And the cool thing about this site, Leo, is any band can go on there and they can put a petition on to come play a live show. And when they get 1,000 votes, you'll see Biff Naked has 13 votes here. And when she gets 1,000 votes, they fly her to the Las Vegas studio and they do a live show. No,
wow.
And people pay
That's a great remodel.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Wait, it's to be determined if people are willing to pay for this type of stuff online.
Right.
But it is a great model.
That's what the record industry is saying, is that we're creating a whole generation of kids college age and younger who don't believe in paying for music at all. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think it's kind of true. I think that you're seeing a return to the kind of golden age of where music comes from, or where money comes from in music. You're seeing merchandising being a real important thing, and the bands, concerts and merchandising are where the revenue's coming from. Ringtones right now, places like that. So you use the music as an on-ramp for all these people to engage with your band, and then you sell them shows and merch and
so
stuff.
give away the songs, really, because that's how you get people excited about it.
We're seeing huge bands do this. Radiohead just released their new album In Rainbows, and they let people pay whatever they wanted for it, from zero to anything. In
fact, that was such a success now that 3 or 4 other bands have started the same exact thing, and I think more and more bands are going to do it.
We've seen other big bands like Bare Naked Ladies, a famous band in Canada, fired their record label, hired a good producer, and went off and did it on their own.
And are they selling online? Is that what they're doing with their music?
They're selling online.
See, now that's one thing if you're an established band like Bare Naked Ladies or Maroon 5, where you've already got a fan base. It's another thing where you're starting from scratch, but I guess Soulja Boy proves if you do the right thing, if you somehow grab...
You got the right mix, the tools are there.
What is it you need? Do you have any insight into what it takes to grab an audience and to get like that? I mean, how do you know what to do?
Well, I think it takes, taking a look at what's going on out there and seeing what people are into. Like I said, all the melodies from the Soulja Boy songs are downloadable ringtones exactly. Like, it sounds just like that.
So smart. You should be on MySpace. You should be on YouTube. That's pretty clear,
Definitely. Those are kind of the bare minimum these days. And then there's other sites like Deep Rock Drive. There's this Verb site that I've been checking out quite a bit lately.
I like Verb's kind of the next MySpace.
Yeah, it's kind of the next MySpace. It's not nearly as ugly. It's a little bit more controlled. There's less things you can do there in some ways, but it kind of allows you a lot more creativity.
But as of now, it doesn't yet have the community the size of MySpace. No, you got to go where the listeners are.
Yeah, for sure. MySpace will be an anchor for the music industry for a while to come. Yeah.
RainCityStudios.com, great place to go. Chris Krug's the president there and an expert on what's happening as much as anybody is. It's so fast, it's hard to follow. It's really exciting though, and there's no doubt about that. We're in a brave new world. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with a final word right after this. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. It's pretty exciting to see bands be able to, and I guess this will be true of all kinds of creative, movie makers, writers, TV, just bypass the middleman and go right to the audience. Yeah. And now there are the tools to do it, and there's the medium, the internet, to do it, and it makes it possible.
And anybody can do it now.
I love that, and that's really what this show is about, is showing you how to do it, showing you what's going on out there, of course, as a consumer, but I'm even more interested. I'm less interested in showing you how to consume this stuff as how to use this stuff to create your own stuff. I mean, that's what I really get excited about. I want everybody to be doing their thing, whatever your thing might be, whatever your creative passion is. That's what's so exciting about technology today, is it can really empower it. So we're glad you were here. I hope you found something you enjoyed. If you want to go to our website, you could be on the show, you know.
Indeed, it's labwithleo.com/tech questions. Fill in this form here. We'll get you on the show, and we will solve everything.
No dust at all.
That's so clean it is.
Clean as a whistle.
Look at that.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.